Hello everyone, welcome to Court of the Rings here on twitch.tv/LotroStream, youtube.com/Lord of the Rings/live, and facebook.com/Lotro. I'm Lotro's community manager, Cordovan. Welcome everybody to your Friday of the Penny Arcade Expo said East. We got a thing happening tonight. We're going to be going from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern at the Adventure Pub in Arlington, Massachusetts tonight for a community meetup. You don't need a PAX badge. We've already got a full RSVP, however, so if you haven't RSVP'd, might be out of luck. That said, for a few hours in and you feel like stopping by, there's probably going to be room for you, I would assume. Either way, that's happening tonight, and I'm very excited about it. So thank you to everybody who RSVP'd, who chooses to want to hang out with us. We're going to do our best to make it worth your while. I know Sev's going to be there. I'll be there. A bunch of members of the team will be there. Pretty sure Sev has some stuff he's going to be talking about here that are both Lotro and DDO related. This is a combined party for both games. And it should be pretty cool. So, hope you're having a good time with that. If you're going to be attending, drive safe, drive sober. Also, by the way, Massachusetts has a new law about texting and driving. You cannot be looking at your phone on the road. They will pull you over. I've been seeing a whole bunch of kind of special enforcement stuff. So if you're driving from PAX East, don't be checking your cell phone. Unless you want to be giving some tax money to Boston. Alright, hello everyone. How's it going? Good morning. Jolie, Cario, Wayward, Inkling, Zaws, Dayrun, Mark, Mike, Christopher over on Facebook. So, we have a little bit of swag. I know my green screen's kind of crappy right now. I'm not sure. It was looking fine before I went on the air, but I think the sun may have slightly changed direction, and so it needs to be reset. But I'm going big because I wanted to show off the PAX East swag. This is the swag we're going to be doing at the PAX East meetup here. And that's kind of cool. It's just a little plastic cup. But it's a little plastic cup with the Lotro thing on it. So that's pretty cool. For the other game, just for those of you, because I know some of you like both. It's pretty funny. That one is not green screened. But it's basically a little notepad looking thing for kind of tabletop use. And that's pretty neat. That was a neat little gift. And then finally, got some just plain old SSG mouse pads. And that's pretty cool too. So if you're stopping by tonight, you'll probably be getting one of those. The way I'm going to basically do it is hand out tickets. And if you registered for Lotro, you're going to get a Lotro ticket. Registered for DDO, you're going to get a DDO ticket. Registered for both, I'm going to make you pick one or the other. Then we're going to just hand out some stuff. And then, per usual, anything left over, because I want to make sure at least the people who are there for, quote, their game get their swag. I have enough for everybody. And then if there's any left over after that, then it just kind of goes out to the wider group for people to pick up for friends and kinnies and guildmates and all the other kind of thing too. So I fully expect we'll be out of swag, but we actually are setting some aside, I think, for other use in the future as well. So this may not be the last time you see this thing. Hello from Houston. Timsters on YouTube, I'm not sure what you mean about ending the instance locks of the 3 and 6 mans. If you're talking about the chest locks, no. Otherwise, if you're just talking about... I think I know what you're talking about. The instances when they're part of content are sometimes linked to that content, like Epic Storyline and things like that. And you do sometimes have to do some prep work in order to unlock it. Hey Cord, how are you? I'm fine. What SSG thinks about players going out of bounds? I assume you mean basically finding all those little tricks on the map and things like that. It's usually not the end of the world. I think our artists tend to be most sensitive to it because their kind of less polished work tends to get exposed sometimes. But generally, from a gameplay perspective, so long as they're not really able to do anything, it doesn't really matter that much. Why do SSG need to nerf Yellow Runekeeper? I don't know. Why do we? Does Ill Omens continue? Yes. Ill Omens continues through March 18th. That's back here. Hey, from Belgium and Germany, Vegas. And we got people from all over the world here. All right, so all I'm really going to be doing today is just kind of running some gameplay, continue what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks in this area of Barthos and all. I was playing a little bit yesterday evening in preparation, so I'm really ready for chapter 12.4, and that's cool. I still have some lost lore to pick up, but yeah, so. Oops. Someday I'm going to remember. There we go. That's the one. Never mind. Skirmish stuff. Instance clear the bright company. That's not where I need to be. I'll remind myself where I do need to be. I need to be over by... I think over... It's in that swampy area over by Grimbjorn's Lodge, right? I think. Shoot. I knew I should have done one more thing before I got on the air this morning. Alright, there we go. I think it's Adambel. No, Dingarth. That's where I'm headed. Akkadin Edhill. Right. I'm talking about chess, just make it harder for Ithgalad comps. Kinda annoying. I really want to enjoy this content, but weeklies T5S 3-man are what I do for like one day. Talking about chess, just make it harder. Oh, okay. Yeah. So especially on like T5. No way are we just going to remove chest locks. Sorry. Ain't how it works.
Task for you, soldier.
Yeah, so Cario, I don't really like that phrase. I saw it yesterday, the quote, legendary producer's letter of the first stage. I know people are just kind of being fun, and so it's fine, but one of the challenges we often run into on the producer's letter is meeting expectation, and it doesn't help when things get overly hyped ahead of time. There's also no timeline on it. Ideally, we would have had it out by now, but it's just not ready yet. So I would say Cario, hopefully soon. I actually think there's a pretty...
I have orders for you, soldier.
Wait a second. I'm doing something wrong. So no ETA. I will not be announcing an ETA on the producer's letter ever. Again, I know better now. I will not be doing this. Yeah. I don't know. I also don't know where I'm going. Going back out of Mordor Besiege to... Oh my gosh, am I going now? It's been too long. That's where I'm going. Okay. Yes, my sim over on Facebook. As we put in the FAQ for the Minas Morgul expansion that will be released later this month for Lotro store points, you'll be able to get it there. As soon. Oops. What the? That was weird. There we go. Miss Tho, we do not have anything to announce today regarding the return of the transfer service to Lord of the Rings Online. We're continuing to work to bring that to you, and as soon as I have more information to pass along, I will. We are closer to reopening it than not, and I would expect to hopefully hear something, I would say weeks, not months. And that's about as much as I want to narrow it down today. There we go. All right. So we're actually getting pretty close. It's just not ready to announce any kind of date, especially due to the intense desire of people to have it back. I don't want to set people off or anything. Any news of a champion buff? No. I know, as I've been saying for a couple weeks now, I did speak to Vastin about his plans for classwork. He does have plans for classwork, but is not in a position to commit at all a certain class for a certain update at this point. So I would say we're going to continue to see the kind of classwork that he and the rest of the systems team have been doing for a while now. What did I just do? What did I just do? Ugh. Let's try that again, shall we? All right. And yes, I'm using Mithril because I'm making it easy. So we're definitely not. I mean, I don't think we'll ever be done with classwork. As we've having some kind of weird thing. I wonder if it's. Strange. I'm going to follow up on that. Anyway, we will be doing continuous classwork forever, and that will include work in 2020. Understand, champs want their work done. Jetrith, you're absolutely right. When I say later this month, I meant March, even though we are at the end of February. And so that's what I meant. Right. March. As was stated in the FAQ. We actually have a points and everything. So you know exactly how much it's going to cost and all that sort of stuff. If you want to look it up in the Minas Morgul FAQ. But it'll be this month. As stated. Yeah, thank you. I know that they've, especially QA and crew, have been working. They've done what, 2 to 3 different lore props in recent days with additional raid work on it. So I know that they've been working hard getting that raid polished. I think we're going to see it pretty soon. Again, I don't have a downtime or anything to announce, but we're pretty close. So stay tuned for that. I also do think Sev's going to have some stuff to say tonight, perhaps in lieu of a producer's letter. So I think that people who are interested in knowing more about 2020 will probably want to keep an eye on Twitter, Facebook, and that kind of thing tonight, tomorrow morning. Months ago, you said you have no plans to work on the Warden. Then you updated the Warden's skills. Now you say class balance will continue. How can we believe anything you say? I appreciate that point because it raises a very good point about when players just keep throwing classes at me all the time. When are we going to do the X? Are we going to do the X? Are we going to do Y? Are we going to do Z? Are we going to do A? I don't know, because it's not until it's done, right? We never commit class work for a specific update or point update that I'm aware of. All of this stuff will go on for the rest of this game's life forever. So there will never be a time where there are no plans to work on a single class. There are very frequently times where there are no plans to work on a specific class for the next thing.
Listen now to the last glory of the Bright Company.
So Daniel over on Facebook is having an issue where you return to the game and your characters are gone. A couple of things to check on that.
We came without incident to the tunnel of Halroth, and ventured.
I'm assuming that you weren't on a world that has since been closed. So if that's the case, that would explain that. When we reopen world character transfers, you'll be able to transfer them over to a live server. The other thing is it's actually fairly common for people when they first come back to click either onto the wrong server or misclick or something like that. So maybe check the other servers, make sure that you're on the right one. And then finally, unless you deleted the characters, they're never deleted. Or unless someone hacked your account and deleted your characters, they're never deleted. So hopefully you should be able to get your characters back. So I would suggest getting in touch with account support through help.standingstonegames.com. Submit a ticket to them, and they'll be able to solve this for you. Mysum, how much LPs will Minas Morgul cost? I'd have to call up the Minas Morgul fact page. I can't remember off the top of my head. Should be an easy enough question to answer, though. If someone just want to Google Lotro Minas Morgul fact, should get you there in about 10 seconds. Okay. Let me get back to YouTube here. The locks are a bit harsh for tier 1 to 3. Basically, you do stuff for one day, then you have to wait a week. Yeah, I mean, we've had conversations about what should be the appropriate frequency. Clearly, players want it to be less restrictive than perhaps the team would prefer. So I think it's just going to be a balancing act of finding the right place. Why do we still have fellowship maneuvers? It's true, that's been a deprecated system for quite some time. I think it's because, in some ways, the amount of work it would take to remove it is probably about the amount of work it would take to improve it. And in neither of those cases is there time for that work. That's going to be my guess as to the why. Alright, I've got enough, when's this coming in March question for me to do the Lotro Minus Mogo Fact. Alright, the official answer. Can I purchase the expansion with Lotro points? The Minas Morgul expansion will be available for store points in March 2020, priced as follows. Base edition includes the Minas Morgul region and instances only for 24.95 points, and the Stout Axe Dwarf for 1,000 points. And that'll be in March here. Wasn't there supposed to be some PAX East announcement about stuff? Well, I wouldn't use that phrase to describe it. We're not at PAX East. I would say, is it likely we will have a PAX adjacent thing to say during our Lotro and DDO combined community meetup tonight? Is that a PAX announcement? Or is it an announcement that just happened to happen about 25 minutes away from PAX on a Friday? Sort of leave that up to you to decide. Any news on the raid coming out next week, week after? Something like that. I don't want to commit QA until, clearly they've been propping new versions of Bullroar and stuff in recent days, so I don't want to speak on their behalf about the releasable state of the raid yet. But something like that within the next few weeks, I would think. Race changes. I heard Civ talking about that this morning, about the when on it. So we're tracking down when can be the when. And my understanding is that's hopefully coming soon, but we'll have more. We'll let you know when it's ready. When we are doing PvE stuff, gear, etc., do you think about how this will impact PvMP at all? Yes. Generally, that is a concern. However, it's not always a blocker, so to speak. As you well know, anything that impacts PvE tends to impact the player side of PvMP. And meanwhile, manual work has to be done on the creep side, so it's an somewhat uneven sort of balance flow. And so typically what happens is PvE work is done, the impact of that PvE work is looked at and recognized, and then when possible, that work is done to improve things. Oh, yeah, sorry. QA is quality assurance. The bug people. Blah. That was easy. When Beacon issue 150? Expect that this afternoon. I'm going to try to get it out before I have to head out to the Adventure Pub to do setup and stuff for tonight. If for some reason things fall apart or come up and I can't get it done, it'll be Saturday. But most likely this afternoon. My champ is traded strangely. Probably. Because I don't care what other people think. I don't remember this one last time. Hey. Are you GM instant killing those gauntmen? No, that's a story element. I believe the elves are supposed to be pinging them off while we climb the stairs. Right, this is where I died last time, so maybe I should try not dying this time. Don't die this time. Curio, Rohan housing will not be included with the Shelob raid. That'll be a separate update, and that'll be happening this summer. Any work on server lag? As a matter of fact, just recently we had a check-in in one of our patches where we did some work on the slight hitching that sometimes happens when you're riding across the landscape. So we've done a little work on that front. We also did some work yesterday with a kind of a login issue on Crick Hollow. People were getting a failure to queue for server message inappropriately. So we've done some stuff, but we have not found that solve all lag button yet. Yeah, it was warm every day this week pretty much. It's been almost unseasonably spring-like in the Boston area until today for the Boston meetup where it's all cold and windy. I don't know about the crafted relics with the Shelob raid question, sorry. How did I manage to die here? I don't know. I don't know how I died, but I did this... Pretty sure I did this last week, right? So, eh? Cord, why can some nicknames can't be added to friend list, neither can be used at new characters? That is probably because it is in the sort of blacklisted names for either lore license or profanity / appropriateness reasons. Another option might be, if I recall correctly, I think they need to have logged in at least once into the game world in order to be added to your friend list. And so if someone, say, grabbed a name and kept it in CareGen, then that might cause that behavior as well. For example, Killer. Yes, I would imagine Killer is not at all something that would be available in 2020. Oh, it was pretty much clear that he wanted to make a joke out of his trait line, blah, blah, blah. You're right. As a matter of fact, you're right. I should take a better look at my traits. Let me actually show you where I was at, because I was spending a couple of points in it yesterday. I have actually largely been going into yellow. I like the Deadly Storm, and in particular, I like the Battle Frenzy and some of the other kind of abilities that it has. So I've been enjoying being in the yellow line and then dipping into blue line. Granted, I'm not doing red line. I should probably switch over to trait line 2 and do it that way so I could swap back. But at the moment, I'm really just kind of learning how to play this character still. And so there you go. Oh shoot, where was I supposed to go? Do not escape in time. You will fail the quest. That's what happened. How do I escape? Oh my god. I'm gonna fail again. It's because I was talking. That's how you fail this instance. By live streaming it and not paying attention. Yep. Wrong stairs. Okay. Yeah.
Listen now to the last glory of the Bright Company.
Hey, Cord, it seems that login also takes longer on older characters who have done a lot of deeds, and new characters log in almost instantly. I think there's some truth to that. And the reason really is character data bloat. You know, the longer you play a character, especially if you're looking at, say, someone potentially from, 2006, 2000, well, beta, let's just say 2007, over time, that character's data profile, just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Because of all the stuff you've done. As opposed to a new player, which has got that new player smell, that new character smell. So it's generally a much smaller character data. That's something we're cognizant of, and we do work to minimize the impact of long-term data bloat on login. It's also, as you point out, though, occasionally a culprit. Especially if we do something perhaps that we discover needs to be adjusted. Maybe we've offered too much X or Y, or there's a whole bunch of things that can cause it, right? But I guess that's good enough. Golden rule: don't make instances while you stream. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting too. It could have, as Shazbot over on Twitch says, another option could be a monster player has that killer name, which, given that name, sounds, pretty likely. Hey, Brandywine. Yeah. The name of the other High Elf Bright Company warriors? That's a great question for Maid of Lions or Chris Pearson. Unfortunately, I don't know myself. I think that's a pretty good idea, though, that, as I've been playing this character for a little while, I should go and read up a little more on the trait lines and see what the metas are that I'm supposed to be doing if I want to not suck. Good to know what I should be doing that I'm not doing. Meanwhile, I will continue to play as I want to. Gosh darn it. Yep. No PAX East, question mark? We're not at PAX East this year. SSG isn't really... we've never been there, and WB Turbine Days hasn't been there since... Oh no, there's the Infinite Crisis stuff, so I don't know. Locher DDO hasn't been there since, 2012? But we have a meetup happening tonight for Locher and DDO players, and a whole bunch of people from SSG are attending the event for various things, and in some cases helping out other nonprofits and stuff that are there. Maybe Friends Game Studios, indie studios. There's all sorts of games industry stuff happening around the PAX East time. This is really the time when the video game industry centers on Boston for the weekend. So it's a pretty big deal if you work in the games industry. There's a lot going on. So there's a lot kind of adjacent happening rather than directly happening at the convention. Although I'm not going myself to PAX East this year personally. I like to go. I love PAX East just fine, but didn't get a badge this year. SSG isn't there in an official capacity, and I just didn't really have an opportunity to volunteer or anything like that. So no actual PAX for me this year. How many? I can't really give that answer, sorry. Let's distract about the end of the instance again. No! One of the things I really consider to be an important part of my job is to make sure to show you what not to do. It's entirely the reason why I do. You may think I'm just incompetent, but no. I'm not going to get into that question. Actually, I would say that sort of thing. The Benzu, just culturally, PAX East was hit pretty hard this year with fears over the coronavirus. So a whole bunch of studios like Sony and Square Enix and things like that kind of had to scale back or cancel their plans. And my understanding is a whole bunch of stuff kind of got shifted around this year because of it, which is a bummer. But I also I've heard that it's also a hop in place again this year. So even with those absences, there's still a lot going on. And they're doing all sorts of things. Someone was saying that they actually have staffers assigned to like do antibacterial on the escalator rails and all sorts of things like that to kind of, let's be honest, probably just make people feel better. But, doesn't hurt. I have not heard of plans to release a new dance. Sorry. You raise a very good question, Marvorn. I think it's not just because of the C virus or whatever. It's big conventions. It's pretty common to talk about con crud and things like that. The idea of people getting sick after attending conventions is pretty common. There's a lot of germs in those places, and not always the most on the ball people when it comes to like washing your hands and stuff. So. Pay attention. Thank you. No, Softsnake, I have not heard of any plans to turn Fallen Kings into a raid. Glad you like it, though. Do not lick the escalator railings at PAX East. Good advice. All right, so I've kind of really focused on PAX East a lot. We did mention the latest on the producer's letter, character transfers, class work, kind of the big four, as it were. I mentioned we have the raid probably coming in the pretty near future, next couple of weeks or so. And I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I should be bringing up. Got the Ill Omen Skirmish event going through the 18th. Oh, carryalls have been permanently released in the Lotro store. Actually didn't realize that it happened until SSG Red Panda mentioned it yesterday. So I'll be getting an announcement about that, but those carryalls are back. But my shoe's untied. Okay, tell us about retro gaming. Sure. Yep. You know I want to. I remember little of our last desperate flight down the stairs and through the tunnel of Hallrath. We returned to the relative safety of Edinbell, greeted with more sorrow than we brought with us. Hushed tones of the last ride of Anarian. No. Sync stuff. We have no connection to the stuff being done by Amazon or its game studios. So, Timsters is saying, I'm guessing the new epics are dealing with Gondor, New Queen, and Scouring of the Shire, then back to Gondor. We are going to be talking in the near future about our plans for 2020. We know we've kept you waiting due to just the way the process rolls out, but we're going to be having a lot to say about 2020 here in the near future. Okay. Looks like we have the crafting, but not the tasks in the store. So, Pine Leaf, to answer your question, I would assume that task carryalls would indeed appear on a permanent basis in the store, but just not yet. Also, hey, Pine Leaf, how's it going?
So it is done.
Do not trouble yourself, Glorfindel, on my account. While Sauron tormented Lendalin within Barad-dûr, his enemies were not idle.
The Lady Galadriel had remained at Minas Ithil after she and Lord Celeborn drove the Nazgul from the valley. Now she sent her thought to Lendalin, and she spoke directly through Sauron's prisoner to the Dark Lord. One broke the gates of Ithil, Lendalin said, his last breaths upon him, and Sauron laughed, for he had the mastery. Cool.
The Dark Lord unleashed the last of his armies in a final bid to destroy his enemies.
I'll have to follow up on that, Druids. I don't know about the categorization issue you mentioned. No, Sean, we have not done any... I would not expect to see any work done on war steeds or skirmish soldiers in the near future. On the slopes of Mount Doom, he brandished his black mace Mordagnir, wading through friend and foe alike until at last he faced the High Kings of the Alliance. The One Ring shone on his finger, and he sent forth his evil thought, seeking to dominate Gil-galad's mind when he donned the Three. But he did not see it. Gil-galad threw back his head and laughed at Sauron, and the Dark Lord was filled with rage. "The rings of my people may be together," my liege declared, "but they are far from here, far from you." And Sauron knew he had been deceived, lured from the safety of his tower, and he knew his peril. But above all else, he desired to inflict anguish upon those arrayed before him. He sent his will into the One Ring, and his foes were held fast by its spell. Sauron fell upon them in deadly combat, and great gouts of ash and flame roared from the peak of Mount Doom.
That day, as battle raged upon Gorgoroth, the fates of many were decided. Gil-galad and Elendil challenged the Dark Lord, and he answered with a power none could resist. But as the enemy toyed with his foes, the kings of elves and men struck. It was their greatest deed, and their last. And after, as payment for so many losses, and Weirgild for his father's death, Isildur claimed his prize, the ruling ring.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
Sauron was defeated, but at great cost.
The ring should have been destroyed on that day, but it was not. Isildur took the ring as payment for the death of his father and the travails of his people, an heirloom of his house, and a record of their triumph over evil. The several kindreds that composed the alliance returned to their homelands, nursing their grief and holding dear the memory of their triumph. We believed Sauron was gone forever, and it was not so.
My memory is less certain of the years following the defeat of Sauron.
Gulthava's enchantment still enwreaths my mind, and I find it difficult to clearly recall the events that transpired. There were 2 years of peace, that I know, and during those years the kingdom of Gondor was restored to order. Vows were taken before the oath stones in a tomb made for my father at Amon Anwar. It was to be a hallowed place. Took his father's place on the throne of the north. Queen and youngest son waited in Rivendell. With a company of knights, my sons, and the heirlooms of my house, I rode north to my death and the death of my sons. We were all of us betrayed. You have agreed to help me avenge this treachery, Stampion, but I do not see the face of my betrayer, and cannot remember what befell. In my mind's eye, I see only a chamber with a white stone beneath a rotating beacon, but all is hazy as if I look from a great distance. I do not know what this vision signifies. Gulthava's enchantment releases its grip upon my mind, but slowly, and leaves only a mystery in its wake.
Yes, my friend.
Yes, my
I
friend.
know what chamber Isildur describes.
It was known to Sauron's servants that Isildur perished in the Gladden fields. They scoured the swamp lands in search of the ring, but couldn't find it. In time, his bones were recovered and borne away to places of great evil, perhaps to the very houses of lamentation, it is said, lie hidden somewhere in Mordor. What unholy rites were performed with his remains? I hazard no guess, but in time, perhaps, even the servants of Sauron tired of this villainy, and his bones were brought to some chamber where they, in time, were forgotten. The white stone Isildur describes as the Vendasar of Duath, which stood in Minas Ithil until the forces of Sauron captured that city during the Second Age, then went to Barad-dûr at the direction of the Witch King. It was in the Dark Tower. The Bright Company broke the spells upon it. After the war, when the Alliance razed Barad-dûr, the Vendasar must have been returned to Minas Ithil. That's the White Stone, but what about that beacon thing? Indeed, there was a beacon of some note in that city, kept in an upper chamber atop Barad-dûr, the Tower of the Crescent Moon. It seems to me the bones of Isildur came to lie within the tower. If his shade is to find rest, these bones must be recovered. But whatevs, man. We have been some time away from the Bjorning lands, and Grimbeorn may worry about our absence. We need to go return and let him know we're okie dokie. I desire to return to his study. Gandalf wants to return to study the Black Book of Mordor, for he sees now some things long held to be certain that were perhaps not so. Cool. So now we are going to the Bjorning house, which is up there. Actually, I should go this way. Sync stuff. Stay tuned. As soon as we have we know there's a high interest in the racial swap feature coming very soon. So as soon as we can bring it to you, we will. Seems to be some real high interest in it. I hope we get another random video instead of spoiling things like last year. I would say certainly possible. Certainly possible. Corey Olson and Druid's Fire out today. Shows will be back next week. They're going to stream a little something from the meetup tonight, etc., etc. So that's the plan anyway. Should be a computer, should be internet, so we should be able to do something there. And that'll be over on Lotra stream here, not on YouTube or Facebook just because of bandwidth concerns. So I would expect any kind of video, hangout, whatever from the party would be on the Twitch channel. Probably people's private Twitch channels maybe as well, but we'll see. I would need to look up the store code. I don't know off the top of my head, sorry. It'll be published along with the beacon here pretty soon. The racial swap is available for any race. However, the class restrictions do remain. So, for example, the class that you are still has the restrictions, or the race that you are still has the class restrictions on it. So you can't use this to bypass class racial restrictions. So I don't, it's 1 o'clock here, so I'll probably be heading out when I get back to the Bjorninghuis. Bjorninghuis. I'm just saying, I bet Grimbjorn makes pretty good pancakes. I would go to the Bjorninghuis for breakfast. All that honey and stuff there. Good times. Can you get some info about new additional crafting ingredients you will get soon? The only info I have is what you've already seen on the Bull Roarer notes, so sorry. I guarantee you, MR Vorn, were we to announce server merges, it would not happen at the tail end of a live stream. Yeah, I got what you were saying, Timsters. You know, one of the things, maybe you can, if you're going to be at the party tonight, maybe you can ask about those crafting ingredients, see if we can get stuff back. We're looking forward to it. Should be a really fun time, again, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, and we have a full house. I was a little concerned when we were first setting it up that because we were about 20-25 minutes away from the convention center, that the attendance might plummet. And I was thrilled to discover that indeed that is not only not the case, but that we are about twice what we were last 2 years. So that bodes pretty well for our ability to do these kind of off-site meetups maybe in the future. But we'll see how things go tonight. It's my hope that we have a good turnout despite what is turning out to be one of the crappier weather days of the week. And hope you can make it. It's going to be a good time. So I guess before I wrap up, is there any kind of final questions? No one wants to drive to downtown Boston. That's true. Ah, cool, Osirian. Nice to see you. I look forward to seeing you there. You haven't unlocked the Stable Master yet. I like it. Yeah, yeah. What am I doing? There we go. All right. We are good to go. So I'm going to sit here and take care of stuff before next Friday's show. So I'll be back next Friday with more Court of the Rings. We'll hopefully have some pretty cool stuff to talk about there. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. You can find us every Friday at noon Eastern on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Thanks for watching. Talk to you all again soon.